Welcome everybody to the 16th episode of the PBMED podcast. I'm your host Dustin, and this week we're going to try something different. Sadly, this week Brent can't join us. He has to do what they call vacation. But there's some cool things I found this week and some interesting paddles that I've hit, so I'm going to keep things a little bit more casual, go through some dissections I did, as well as some very brief casual first looks until Brent and I can get more in depth next week. Since we are short one co-host, I'm going to bring some extra meat to the table here and do a little giveaway. I'm clearing out my office this week, so instead of taking all my paddles with me, I'm going to pick 5 winners who get to choose from either new or lightly used paddles from a pretty long list of options before I pack the rest up for my move. To enter the giveaway, leave a comment below this video, subscribe to the Pickleball Medicine YouTube channel, and fill out the link in the Google form in the description below this so I have a way of contacting you if you're chosen as a winner. I'll go ahead and draw the winners a week, 9 days from now, so that'll be May 29th, the Thursday. So between now and then, put in your entries and I'll draw winners on that day. And if I choose you as a winner, I'll put your YouTube username in the description below as well, and I'll only contact you via email. In addition to some playtesting, the first dissection that I did this week was the Joola Pro IV, an 𝒂𝒊𝒏 version. I believe the folks on Discord refer to this manufacturer as DG. So this is a DG Joola Pro IV. You can tell just by comparing. Hope this shows up well. They look pretty much identical, except for right where the Joola label is on the brand name version. This one does not have that same Joola mark. Ordering 2 of these, the final price came to $171. Tariffs or import fees were $88 of that. Shipping was $15, so those 2 things cost more than each individual paddle combined. And for whatever it's worth, those import fees were added after I had originally checked out, so they tacked that onto my card later. I'll throw some stats on the screen here so you can follow along when I read on my computer, but I ordered 2 of the DG Joolas, and this is actually the first time that when I've ordered multiple from 𝒂𝒊𝒏 for testing purposes or whatever, they've come in pretty close statistically and measurement-wise, so they're both very close in static, swing, twist weight, balance point, and whatever. Looking at that versus the Joola Pro IV, they're definitely lighter, and when you pick them up, you can even feel the difference. Like in your hand, it's notably, I mean, it's not like, 10 pounds, whatever perceived weight difference, but definitely feels lighter, more maneuverable, the DG one compared to the brand name Joola. And so far, I'll say that my gameplay experience has been that these are probably the closest to the real thing that I've tested so far, but this one, as well as others in the past, definitely have differences, and I have not found any at this point at all that have been like the exact same. They definitely felt lighter. They had a smaller sweet spot, maybe a little bit less stable, and just very, very marginally less powerful. And that's certainly subjective, but way more maneuverable. Spin was pretty much the same. Feel off the face was pretty much the same. If you were to blindfold me and have me hit between the 2 of them, if I didn't know one was lighter than the other, I don't know if I could tell a difference right away. This one did have me curious what was inside, and just a little word of caution to folks who are looking at the images that, 𝒂𝒊𝒏 or whoever puts on their website. They can pull those from wherever. In fact, I've seen one of my dissection videos, the one of the Pro 4 that I did for the actual Joola review. I've seen that on the 𝒂𝒊𝒏 website, advertising for whatever, manufacturer paddle is selling that paddle, but it was mine and not theirs. So from here on out, I guess we got to put watermarks on our stuff. So I'm going to try something different for this dissection, and I'm just going to put the clips all together. I'm going to play it on my computer, and then I'll overlap it on screen and kind of narrate my thought process and going through the dissection just kind of in real time versus the more scripted approach. All right, so getting started here, I've got my Dremel tool. Actually doing pretty well. This usually takes me like a bunch of different, ins and outs, but I made it in only a few cuts. My goal is to get all the way around the face in one cut, which I've never done before, but it's getting better. It helps with carbide tips. This step here is always a pain. And it's also really satisfying once you get under there to pull it off. So I'll slow this part down. And then it's looking pretty similar so far. Actually quite surprised, but I was interested to see those little foam inserts on the bottom and their size comparison to the real ones. So pull the edge guard off. Take a look. Some different color. I'll flip them over here. You've got the real Joola on the right. Just kind of a color difference. Maybe marginally bigger on the actual brand name Joola, but I zoom in up on the white foam. You can see kind of with the naked eye here that the white foam is slightly bigger on the real Joola. I mean not slightly, like it's definitely noticeable, even just looking at it here, but we'll circle back to that later. I also took the edge guard off. I wanted to take a little bit more of a look at that thermoformed foam, so I did kind of this like little roll-up technique. I find that works best so that the edge guard doesn't just break. And then taking off the carbon fiber, wrap of the edge guard. This is always a pain. It's always so brittle. Almost never comes off easy, so I've got to be like real careful not to pull up the foam. It's usually adhered really well to these stupid little fibrous segments here. So sometimes I don't even do this because it's a lot of work just to look at something I already know is under there, but I wanted to see like the quantities, the color differences. So our brand name Joola on the right, our DG one on the left. You can see kind of a color and shade difference, and the darker orange one on the DG was much more brittle. This is always the case with the Alibaba ones. Then those bottom inserts on the Alibaba one there, they look almost like memory foam. You press them in and they compress and then they slowly come back out. I'm not sure that I've ever seen that before. And if we compare that to the real one over here, it's still soft. Like it compresses, but it certainly doesn't like compress and hold its shape. I actually cut the segments of foam out right at the same level, like height level of the two different paddles. The brand name Joola is on the top here. The DG Joola is on the bottom. You can see that the brand name one is definitely bigger in size, but overall kind of the same general, outline components so far. Very similar in structure, just quantities are different, and maybe like composition of some of these materials might account for like weight and whatnot so far, but nothing's being like, wow, these are so different. Until we get here. This is what got the Joola mods and the original Gen 3s banned in the first place. So we've got clear overcompression of the core, and this happens when that, the honeycombs are larger than the molds are in the factory, and they have to smash them down in. They get heated in place, and then you don't feel it at first until repetitive ball strikes, and then over time it starts to kind of have that accordion effect, and you get the crunching and whatever. So that's what we got going on here with the Alibaba Joola, and that's in comparison to our, new Joola brand name Perseus Pro 4. And as you can see, they are straight and upright. Don't mind my, destructive damage on the right of the paddle there, but this looks like a very healthy core, and this was what, Joola made big efforts to improve on in the past. So I've heard people say like, oh, I ordered a paddle from off Alibaba or AliExpress or whatever, and it comes from the same factory as the brand name ones, but they're like selling them at a discount. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is. Hell, like I really don't know, but either it's not true or the factory, for whatever reason on these models, decides they don't care about, not compressing the mold. I don't know why they would make different thicknesses of honeycomb when they are making it the other way for the real ones. So again, I don't know for sure, but it doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me unless they just kind of stop giving a shit. But just fact of the matter of this exploration is that they're definitely not the same. I would be surprised if they were made at the same factory. I don't know why they would be making such strange changes when they have the capability of making it the same, unless it's cheaper, but I don't know why it would be cheaper to put more core and then smash it versus not. So there you have it. That's our DG Joola Perseus Pro 4 dissection. And this makes probably, for however many Alibaba paddles that I've cut open that have not been the same as the original. So I'm still looking for the one. Still looking for the one that is the same, but so far I'm not convinced. No matter what they say, I don't really think it's the same. So I also did a dissection of the new Ripple V2s this week. This is the R2.14. I also dissected, the previous betas in the past, as well as the the production ones that have the stamp on it that almost went out last time. So I'm still calculating some things. I'm going to look into like foam densities, but it is interesting so far. Some of the similarities and differences that I've seen comparing those previous models to this one. So I'm going to get more in depth from that and probably post some sort of a follow-up video to my original, review first impressions one I made. All right, so let's get into a few paddles here. I'm going to share mostly first impressions. I'm going to save more developed thoughts till next week when Brent and I can put a little bit more testing and time on these, but I wanted to give you a first look and some of my, measurement type stuff. I'll throw like our static, swing, twist rates, all that on the screen here and make some of my initial observations and save more developed thoughts for next week. I think we'll start with the Sypik Triton Pro Tour 2. This is the Gen 2 version of the paddle that Kwang's going to be using. He'll have the Triton Pro Tour 3, I believe. It'll look the same as this one, but it'll have the 3 on it instead of the 2. On paper, the Pro Tour 2 here doesn't have like a whole lot that stands out, really. It's kind of a thermoformed paddle that's elongated, kind of a normal shape and whatever. I think it looks great, but I still wanted to try it, and I do admit I liked this paddle a lot. And that's kind of bittersweet because most of the people I talk to that know something about this sort of allude to the fact that because the 3's coming out, they're not going to put a lot of effort into getting the Triton Pro Tour 2 into the US with more units. So pretty much what we have here now is what we're going to have in the future, and there's not that many out there. It plays really plush. It has good control. I'd put it in like the all court category. The face feels really nice. It's like a solid carbon fiber face here. See if you can hear that. The texture is really nice. Handle's really solid. Like I really, really liked this paddle. This is a paddle that I could easily main. I think the closest paddle to this is the unmarked Alpha from Mark Pickleball, which is my current main. So that might be why I like it so much, but maybe slightly, like just marginally less dwell time than the unmarked. But overall, it has good ball absorption, better grab, feel, throw than I would expect from a Gen 2, so that was pretty surprising. One big problem people are going to see with Sypik in general is they really aren't very organized here in the US, and I don't really know what's going to happen with their distribution here. Right now, you pretty much just have to DM somebody to get one. Their website's not set up here, so there's not really any discount codes. You've just kind of got to make your point of contact to somebody to get one of these. I'll link my man Jens in the details below since that's where I got mine and it all went really well. So reach out to him if you are thinking about getting one of these. Oh, and plus I didn't mention they're $150 shipped. So that's just a really good deal. So it's too bad they don't have more. I would probably get more for myself and play with it more regularly, but they're not. So that's where we are. Next, we have the Holbrook ARMA paddles. I got 3 models here. I have the ARMA Metallic X, which is elongated, but it has the shorter handle. I wouldn't say short, but it's not extra long like the other 2. And then I've got the ARMA Metallic T, which has the longer handle, lots of room for 2 hands there. And then the ARMA T, which has a carbon fiber face. These are definitely really unique. Most people have probably seen a lot of the insides by now, but I'll throw some x-rays on the screen. These are courtesy of Matt Curry from Matt's Pickleball, so thanks for sending these in, Matt. You can see on the inside of the core there, maybe like 2/3 or so of the way up, they start with larger 10mm size cells, and then it transitions to smaller cells, and that's all kind of encapsulated here in a giant giant perimeter of foam. So definitely Gen 3 construction here. It's clearly foam enhanced. And for a 14mm thick paddle, I think this may be the first one with 10mm, those larger cell sizes in the wild. I know some companies have some in the works, but as far as I know, that ones that are out right now, this is the first to have any 10mm cell sizes out. So good for them. These definitely are hitting pretty hard right now. And they're very aggressive sounding. It sounds kind of like a gunshot when you hit them. It's super loud. I think when people use terms like plush or stiff to describe paddles, it can get just a little bit, one directional. Like for example, these are 14mm thick, and if you go like front face to back face, it doesn't compress a whole lot. There isn't a ton of dwell time, but if you take like the PET, the metallic, face here, the face itself is a little bit more soft. So you get kind of an initial feeling of it being soft, which some might call plush, but then the core doesn't compress a whole ton. So some people might call that stiff. So you get this kind of in the middle terminology here, but I would call it crisp. That's the way I would describe the way that these feel. The metallic versions are obviously a little bit more soft off of the face than the carbon fiber ones. And I really liked the Metallic X. It's got more proportionate face surface area, so I felt like it was a little bit more stable than the other 2. And that's the one I started with, so it gave me a positive impression of these series, but I do think our two longer models here need a little bit of weight for added stability. I felt some twisting, you know, when I'd hit off-center shots and whatnot, but the longer handle that they have, they definitely feel quite whippy, aggressive, poppy. These are definitely power paddles. They also have a standard shape, but I don't have that one, so you'll have to look elsewhere to get some feedback on that, but I'll get some more developed thoughts of these for next week. Okay, next we've got our Pickleball Apes Harmony series. There's three shapes. I have had the V before in all black. This is a final design, not the cosmetics, but the core and construction. So these aren't prototype models anymore. The core, which Ivan has been pretty clear, I'm not to share the core yet, but I will in due time. We've got the V, we've got the X, which is the elongated, the V is the wide body, and then we've got the S, that's the hybrid. The goal of these was to make them overall lighter feeling in the hand. Ivan wanted higher twist weights, lower swing weights, as that was some of the complaints with the Pulse series. And I'll throw some numbers on the screen here, but if we look at the V in particular, the Harmony V definitely is a lot lighter than the Pulse V. It's a whole 0.3 ounces lighter, you can see on the numbers, as well as 4 swing weight points lighter as well. It doesn't have as high of a twist weight, which I think is fine. It can, you know, be modifiable. You can add to it, but overall, I hit this side by side. The Harmony V, I went out and hit it side by side, a unbroken in Pulse V, and man, they were really close. I'd say the Harmony V was just a little more poppy and hit just a little bit harder, and is obviously a little quicker. So I'm not sure out of the box this is quite to the power of like a broken in V per se. But even though this may or may not have a break-in, looking at the core, I'm not sure that it'll have a significant break-in, but it is one-of-a-kind construction. I do expect the components to kind of loosen and do the normal type warming up that all paddles do, and then after that, we'll see where it lands. The big difference in the Harmony S and the Pulse S, the Harmony S is a little lighter, but not much. It feels in the hand just about the same, but that pop is a little bit more sudden on this Harmony S, and if you look at our numbers here, the twist weight is marginally bigger, but otherwise the measurements came up pretty much exactly the same. So really the difference here is feel. I did think the sweet spot was a little bit better on the Harmony S so far. These are, you know, subject to change over time, I suppose, but my first impressions are that the sweet spot's better on the Harmony S. It's a little bit quicker of a pop, less absorption, less dwell time, but by far more maneuverable. And then for the Harmony X, this one maintains some higher numbers, which I'll throw on the screen as well. But in pretty much every category, it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more maneuverable compared to the Pulse X. This is the elongated version. So an ounce lighter, a swing weight point lighter, and it does have a higher twist weight and a lower balance point, which, you know, doesn't sound like a lot, but holding it in the hand, it definitely does feel lighter than the Pulse X. It's easier to move around, a little more crisp. This one, surprisingly, is probably my favorite of the whole series. In general, these are not, I've heard some people like ask or say, are these just lighter pulses? And they're not. It's completely different construction. It's a completely different paddle, but some of the attributes people like will be carried over. Like it definitely dampens vibrations really well. Not quite as much as the Pulse series did, but these are going to be able to be moved around much, much faster. The pop is a little bit quicker, a little bit more, you know, crisp. The dwell time isn't quite there. It's not as much as the Pulse series has. But again, these are new and time will tell what happens. But so far with all the prototype testing that people have had, it's my understanding that there hasn't been a whole lot of break-in people have seen yet. I believe these are slated to come out in a couple of months or so, as soon as Ivan feels like they've had enough of a time to know there's not a significant break-in or breakdown or whatever, which is going to be, you know, a nice reassurance to people who buy these that they've been put through testing before they buy them. So overall, these are good paddles. They're really solid. They're not necessarily a remake of the Pulse, but good news also is that I've heard Ivan is reconsidering his, you know, sunsetting or his whatever discontinuation of the Pulse series, probably because people like it so much. So this will be a good complement to the Pulse series, I think, if they keep it. If they don't keep the Pulse, that'll be a sad day for me. It'll be a sad day for Brent, but these are still really good paddles. I think they're going to be popular as well. And then lastly, I have the full foam core from GRUVN. I have the MUVN-HD. I'm actually not sure which one Brent got, but Brent got something. This is the carbon fiber base. It's got the same naming system as all of GRUVN's other paddles. So if you're not familiar, the HD, that's their hybrid shape, 16, it's 16 millimeters. And MUVN, it was previously their title for their thermoformed carbon fiber series. They also have the laser series that they're making full foam cores of as well. So they'll have a laser 16 HD. Talking to Kevin, he sent both the MUVN 16 HD and the laser 16 HD into USAPA testing for approval. Once those get approved, then he'll send in the S, which is their standard shaped, and the elongated shapes, I forget which letter designation they are, for similarity testing after the originals are approved. And I gotta say, so far I've been pretty surprised in kind of a good way at how this performed. I'm not sure what I expected, really, picking this up and feeling it, but it plays really well, and it surprisingly had more pop and punch and power than I expected it to. I think some of the foam paddles that are coming out, or that, the blue core and whatever, have been a little bit more control oriented. This is not a control paddle, at least not in my experience so far. It's definitely got a little bit more zip than I thought, so we'll see where it lands, and I'll give some more updated thoughts next week. But overall, this is looking really promising. I don't know what the price is going to be, and I asked GRUVN about it, and I just asked Kevin at GRUVN, and he was like, well, with tariffs going back and forth, I really don't know. I can't nail down an exact price, and we're several weeks and months or whatever away from launching these to the public, but I can pretty safely say no matter what tariffs do, we're going to stay well below that 280 whatever dollar mark that everybody else is hitting. So we'll be lower than that somewhere. And that's all I got for this little mini review podcast thing with the giveaway and the dissection of paddles. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and look forward to hearing more about these paddles and others from Brent and I next week.